it was deeper than just that. It was a maternal instinct the paramedic felt toward her and the condition that she was in. The middle-aged paramedic had a daughter of her own around the patient's age. Maybe, just maybe, this could have been her child. In spite of the fact that this wasn't her own flesh and blood, it was still somebody's daughter. So she was going to get care for this young lady to the best of her ability. In her 15 years on the job, Pamela Jones struggled with the emotional toll of being a first responder. In her line of work, it was hard to cope with the trauma she witnessed on a daily basis, as she watched life and death play out right before her eyes. Day in and day out, the pressure was on her to perform life-saving techniques under some of the most pressure-packed situations. She suffered in silence, finding no one, outside of her coworkers, who could identify with the atrocities she had seen. While dealing with every medical condition known to man, heart attacks, strokes, and drug overdoses. She also witnessed the aftermath of fatal car crashes and the carnage of murder. On a lower level, she also had to deal with trauma victims, gunshot wounds, and victims of stabbings and domestic abuse. It never ceased to amaze her what human beings would do to themselves and to others. Years on the job had done nothing to insulate her from the catastrophes she witnessed. Somehow, she had learned to emotionally distance herself from the job. However, it was when tragedies or accidents afflicted the young that it bothered her the most. She hated to see young lives cut short due to negligence or a violent, malicious act. Currently, she was sick to her stomach. Never in her entire life, on or off the job, had she seen anyone this badly beaten, male or female. That's what disturbed her the most about this incident. The paramedic couldn't help but feel like the world had failed this patient in many ways, least of which it failed to protect her. I wonder what happened to her, she thought. Usually, Pam suspected a husband, boyfriend, or an ex of this type of brutality. In her mind, this case was no different. Only someone that this young lady was intimately involved with could produce such rage to beat her within inches of her life. Whoever did it really did a number on her, the paramedic concluded. Why? She wondered. This badly beaten victim gave new meaning to blunt force trauma. Her face was swollen twice its normal size. There was a large cut on her scalp. Trickles of blood leaked from her nose and mouth. The welt marks on various parts on her body, back, chest, arms, and buttocks testified to the severity of the physical attack. Everyone who had laid eyes on her couldn't help but wonder what kind of animal or psychopath would do this to another human being, let alone a woman. Looking at the injuries inflicted on her patient, she felt justified in labeling the perpetrator by any name she could think of other than a child of God. The paramedic wasn't an overly religious woman, yet every time she looked down at her patient, she felt compelled to say a silent prayer. Lord, have mercy, she thought. Please don't let this child die. Not like this. Not tonight. Not on my watch. Pray as she might, every time she laid eyes on her, the paramedic couldn't help but wince. Netta looked that bad. She had serious doubts about her survival rate in this condition. Pamela, how's everything back there? Her partner shouted through the glass partition. How's the patient holding up? The situation looked grim, but the paramedic tried her best to be optimistic, shouting back to him some words of encouragement. The patient is holding up just fine. She's one tough cookie, but she'll be even better once we get there, she replied optimistically. These two knew each other like a book after working together for the last 6 years. They had built a rapport that extended off the job. They'd become trusting friends who truly cared about each other's well-being. Pam's message to her partner was coded. Brett immediately knew exactly what that meant. Hurry the hell up. He gunned the engine even harder, desperate to win his race against time. In an emergency situation like this, it seemed as if the ambulance was moving slowly, although in real time it was moving at a breakneck speed. For the paramedic tending to her patient, it felt like it